All right, all right, all right. You are now rocking with the best, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in to another exciting, exhilarating episode of the ANW Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, your host, KD Drummond. I am here with the rest of the four horsemen. We have the one and only Mr. Patrick No C Walker, Josh Rodriguez, and of course, my man Will Skywalker Steele. Say what's up to the people, everybody.
Hello.
What up? Welcome back. This is the greatest coverage of professional wrestling you can get on God's green earth and all the other planets in the solar system. I know y'all not counting Pluto no more, so what, we got 7 others? Yeah.
No, Pluto's back.
Pluto's back? Oh, Pluto's back. Listen, Pluto's back. Roman Reigns is back. We cooking, baby.
Yeah,
we are so back.
We are on the heels of course, Saturday's phenomenal SummerSlam show. And I think by and large, most people were satisfied with SummerSlam, obviously one of the big 4 PLEs. There's always going to be people that want to see things done differently. But I think by and large, everybody was pretty satisfied with the way that the match card went and the results. We went over that. We had our instant reaction video, which please, by all means, if you haven't smashed that subscribe button yet, please do that so you can catch up on all the previous episodes, including our instant reactions to everything that happened in SummerSlam. And there's so much to dissect, and we've now had the follow-up Monday Night Raw to further things along and give us a little bit more clarity about how things are going to be in the WWE universe moving forward. And I think, obviously, the biggest conversation that's dominating wrestling talk is the Roman Reigns return. The one true tribal chief has returned to the bloodline, and everybody wants to know what happens. Obviously, we saw the Cody Rhodes versus Solo Sikoa match get interrupted. It was kind of like what we expected with the members of the bloodline getting involved, and then finally, the moment everybody was waiting for, Roman comes down the runway, and he completely obliterates Solo Sikoa with his famed Superman punch to begin things, and then from there it was just all anarchy as Cody Rhodes retained the title. So the big questions on everybody's mind is clearly, A, what's going to be next for the bloodline? We all know, or I think we all feel like it's going to be building up to a Roman Reigns versus Rock, but that might not be something immediate. So let's go around the table and you guys share with me what you think is going to be the next step, the next evolution of this bloodline feud. What's going to happen in the next couple months as we build through these next couple PLEs? Let me start with you, No C.
Well, what's going to be interesting is what's the timing for Jimmy Uso's return? Jimmy Uso has now been medically cleared for more than a month. And surprising that he hasn't made his reappearance on SmackDown at any point prior to SummerSlam. Even more surprising that he didn't make an appearance at SummerSlam, even if it were to kind of create this segue to Roman Reigns' pop. So there was no Uso segue or anything like that. They just gave it all to Roman Reigns, which I have no problem with. But the question still is out there. When does Jay get involved? When does Jimmy return? Because Jay said recently in an interview that Jimmy's coming back, quote unquote, soon, and be on the lookout for that. And he's ready. Okay, well, let's get that popping. With Sami Zayn no longer having the title, I don't like recycling anything that isn't cans or paper products. But okay, Will, still, I guess I'll give you Sami Zayn in the Civil War, I guess, because he and Jey Uso on Monday Night Raw, yesterday's episode, they've linked back up on some tag team stuff. Mm-hmm. So, that's going to serve, I believe, now as a segue there. And then, of course, you got Zilla Fatu waiting in the wings, saw an image of him actually sitting in the stands at at SummerSlam in Cleveland. So when does Zilla Fatu get involved in this? So for me, right now, I have a blinking light on Jimmy Uso because I think he has to be the next up, and as far as the return, and that might actually be this week's SmackDown because Roman Reigns is scheduled to speak.
Yeah. What do you think, Josh? I have some points, but I want to give everybody a chance to get on the microphone before I bring in the science.
Get on the mic.
Get on the mic.
Don't get me started. I will freestyle the shit out of this. Don't start.
Please spare our fans.
Solo and Roman at the next PLE. I think that's the match that everyone wants to see. Everyone wants to see Roman get back at Solo for taking over the bloodline. It is also confirmed that he is the original tribal chief. I know how we felt about that on our instant reaction to the pod. I like only, but we'll roll with original because, again, like we said, it gives credence to the fact that Solo is a tribal chief,
right?
Which is debatable at this point. I don't know. Patrick seems to think that he really is. And I disagree.
I'm sorry, what now?
Patrick seems to think that Solo's really that guy.
Show me the receipt. Show me the receipt.
Show me the
life is
I was
about
sitting right next to him.
receipts.
He was cheering for Solo all the way.
No, bro.
I absolutely believe you.
Show me the receipts. That ain't notarized.
No, jokes aside, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, that's all I want to see right now. I don't even want to get into the Survivor Series of it all because that's not our next PLE.
Yeah.
I'm ready for down the road whenever they build up to it. Obviously, Randy Orton's going to be really busy, but I know Randy Orton and Kevin Owens have some beef with the Bloodline. I think that's sort of the writing on the wall as far as the Survivor Series go when you have Cody, Roman, Randy, Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. I think that's the obvious answer at this point, but I really want to see how The Rock kind of plays into this once it gets closer to WrestleMania season.
I hope that's not the Survivor Series, but we got ways to go. Like you said, the next PLE should be Roman and Solo, but I hope he squashes him. I hope they bring back Roman and show that he is still that dominant guy because Solo, I think he's done a solid job in trying to hold this thing together, hatred aside, but he's not a tribal chief. He doesn't feel legitimate to me. And now bring Roman back, squash him, and I guess they get pissed off. Maybe they come out and jump him, the Tangaloa and those guys come out, maybe jump Roman Reigns, and that's when Roman kind of says, I need help, but he gets some help, and then we can start building towards Survivor Series at some point. But this shouldn't be some drawn out 45-minute match, Solo and Roman Reigns. Please no. But that's what's next to me. But keep in mind, this is what I hope they do. I hope somehow, some way in the background, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns are still having those stare downs. Because I don't know if y'all saw it, but at the end of the SummerSlam, Roman points at Cody. And Cody, I think he says 3. He want a trilogy. So look, I know I'm coming back to handle family business, but you got something I need. Yeah. And I hope they keep that kind of weird tension. Like, are they cool? Are they not? Is this just business? As long as they do that, I think that can be way better than the actual Roman Reigns Solo thing.
Yeah, I think along the lines of making sure that we are keeping SmackDown viable. And again, SmackDown is going to be moving to USA. So they're obviously going to be wanting to have some heavy hitter matches when that transpires just for the bump on the broadcast network, right? But there's so many ways that this Bloodline thing can go. Yeah. And for me, one of the biggest things is I get the huge fan bases that we have with Roman and The Rock, and that eventually happened. Maybe that's a WrestleMania 41 thing and the rematch with Cody. But for me, the biggest thing that I want to see is what happens when they fully develop Jacob Fatu as a singles wrestler, and there's some sort of tension there. We talked about that a little bit in the Aftermath pod in the instant reaction. Jacob Fatu was attacking Cody outside of the ring, and then he went down. And whether it was legit or one of the best sells that we've seen in recent history, he appeared to have a leg injury. And there's a lot of conversation about whether or not Triple H continued to sell in the post post PLE presser when he said, Jacob came out of it with a little bit of it with an injury, and Logan Paul had the injury. Obviously, he had the mouse on his eye, so I think that's what he was referring to there. But there is serious question on whether or not the kayfabe was to keep Jacob out so that he didn't have a face-off with Roman, because that's something that's a down-the-line conversation. Do you think Jacob Fatu is a legitimate possibility as a true rival to Roman? Roman's going to dispatch Solo, right? That whole thing is going to be quick and done. They're going to get rid of that in the next month or two. But after that, do you think that there is something there to be had with a Roman and Jacob Fatu rivalry?
I think Jacob Fatu has the demeanor to go at Roman Reigns. He has the in-ring ability to go at Roman Reigns. What he doesn't have is the cachet to go at Roman Reigns. I think when you're talking about who are the heavyweights who qualify, Josh and I were having this conversation a couple of days ago. When you talk about there's a certain air that you have to be in to actually talk about being in a heavyweight bout with a Roman Reigns. And it's not many of those. It's Cody Rhodes. I could say Randy Orton. Drew McIntyre is getting there, right? Gunther is getting there, but Jacob Fatu's not quite there. The Rock, obviously, The Rock is already there. So I think you will see Jacob Fatu have a match or two with Roman Reigns, but I don't think they're going to try to build that up as if it's, the end all be all to determine what happens with the bloodline. I don't think that happens until The Rock gets involved, because that's the heir that's equal to Roman Reigns for me.
That's fair. I think Rock getting involved at all is going to be, that's the Mania match. I don't think Rock is going to show up until Mania. So you have a lot of time now basically to develop that storyline. And, I think Steele brought this up last week where it's like they were in the 5th inning before, and now, what inning are we in? We really don't know. But if the final inning is Rock and Roman, 1 or 2, I mean, we'll see. I'm excited to see where they take this. But I think, you're going to have Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns feuding for a while, and I think that's just good for I think that's good for Solo, honestly. And you get Jacob involved. I think eventually that match with Roman will be great too. But I want to see Jacob perform a lot more.
There you go.
He's got a lot of work to make up.
I'm right there with you. I think he needs to have, and this is going to sound crazy because they're all the same family, but an Umaga run before he ascends on Roman Reigns. Like, let him go dominate in the Intercontinental title scene. U.S. titles might be cool or what have you, but let him just look like an absolute monster in that scene, and then maybe drop it a la Gunther, and now he's entered into a feud with Roman or something like that. But I'm talking, what's it, 2024? I'm talking maybe late 2025. A long ways to go here because there's still some family business to tend to with the Usos returning, and Solo still has his Temu, what'd you call it? The
Temu bloodline.
So there's a lot they can stretch this out. But yeah, KD, I'll say this at some point, yes, but this could be years down the line.
Yeah, I could definitely see how that could play out. Obviously, SmackDown is going to need something more than Cody, right? It's felt like it was just Cody versus the same old tired bloodline for the several months since WrestleMania happened. And SmackDown has kind of needed that infusion. They obviously had to have, some other things going on with some of the other wrestlers. But I think by and large, SmackDown is now going to rival Raw, especially with Raw going to Monday night. But now that Roman's back, I think that takes SmackDown to a whole another level with all of these possibilities that they could come in. You mentioned earlier, Steele, about the jumping of Cody Rhodes with the bloodline, and they're going to eventually jump Roman Reigns, or we're going to have that whole thing. Those things are to be expected. We had a jumping last night on Monday Night Raw that did not go according to plan for the people that were doing the jumping, right? The Judgment Day is reinvented with no head of the table for, to compare to what the Bloodline is doing. Now with Finn Balor, JD, Carlito is now jumped in, for whatever purpose that serves. And of course, Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio. And they went to work on Damian Priest last night. It was a Priest versus JD McDonough match. And then, of course, the new Judgment Day got in the ring, jumped Damian Priest, and Damian Priest was then able to fend off the entire faction on his own, because legitimately, I think us talking shit about Damian Priest inspired.
Been crazy since
it
then.
is. Yeah. He's so on point right now, dude.
I just need to give him I'd clap it up for Damian Priest, man.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna enjoy this version of Damian Priest chasing rather than the cashing in with the money. He was okay champion. I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he was great. I think he was okay. But this layer of the storyline, I think, is going to be so great because he's playing it out. And I remember after the SummerSlam, I said, I don't know where they go with this. I'm gonna sit back and see. I'm drawn in. Okay, I'm back into this to this Judgment Day thing. Let them rival, and I can watch this all day. Rhea and Damian are so over. They're so over as losers. Not saying they're losers,
the pop last night,
but they lost, and they're more over than they were when they were champions. I love it.
Right.
Funny how that works, Patrick. And Patrick was all on Damian Priest.
On your ass.
He must keep the world. We must stay the world champion. The campeón. He was all over it,
dude. What is this
and I was telling him, dude, Gunther has to take this belt from him so that Damian Priest as a face can chase through for that World Heavyweight Championship. And Patrick, at every step, I don't think so.
Listen,
that diminishes Damian Priest. fuck you, man. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen. I just needed Damian Priest to complete his face turn, however that might be.
It happened.
And it happened. So I'm satisfied. He completed his face turn. But I tell you what, inject this Judgment Day versus Judgment Day feud right into my veins. This is why I have on the black and purple today.
I was going to ask you that.
I have the black and purple on today to signify just how much I loved watching that whole thing just implode right in front of us last night. And of course, shouts out to my Jersey girl and mama Liv. She steals the Judgment Day away from Rhea Ripley. So it wasn't just that she stole Dom. It wasn't just that she
took
fractured.
The title.
Right, took the title and fractured the Judgment Day. She then acquired the Judgment Day, which is just the final spit in the face. And then, like we're talking about, folks, Damian Priest, he's been on an absolute fucking tear. He's doing all the right things in the ring. His promos, for the most part, he threw a couple of, last night, but we worked through it. We worked through it, right? And then seeing him handle all of the Judgment Day by himself before Rhea came out, and then Rhea comes out and Liv tries to escape, and Rhea's like, no, not so fast, my friend. Get your ass back here. And then Liv gets saved by Dom, and just then the backstage exchange between Rhea Ripley and Damian Priest, and Damian calling them whack asses and saying those whack asses aren't the Judgment Day. This is the Judgment Day. We're the two OGs. So now we have Judgment Day on Judgment Day violence. So Terror Twins, which is something Pat McAfee coined last night, which was by no coincidence because WWE's social media accounts then immediately. So that was planned. But I guess we're going to call them the Terror Twins. It is fantastic. And if you're wondering, even though I love Liv to death, I am 100% on the side of the Terror Twins. I want to see them wreak fucking havoc. Let's go. I'm with that.
Hey,
let me ask you
real quick. Did you peep Damian Priest though in the middle of his promo? Yeah, man, I'm from the streets.
Yeah. I was like, but no, it was when he stopped saying you and then said Jew. Jew know where I'm from.
Yeah,
I was like,
reel it in, Damian.
He sounds like a Hispanic Goro from Mortal Kombat, dude.
It's like, all right, Damian. This is what I mean when I say he had a couple hiccups, because for the most part he was killing the promo, but then when he switched from you to Juno, where I was like, all right, we've gone a little bit too far. And I get it. Razor Ramon being his mentor. I know he's channeling the inner Chico, the inner bad guy, the machismo. But just be you, Damian. You were cooking up to this point, just being you. So just be you. That's all.
One of the things that I brought up in an article over the Sporting News, shameless plug. That's how we do it, right, Pat? We say shameless plug.
Yeah, shameless plug. Yeah, although there's no shame.
No shame.
There's no shame in it. One of the things that I brought up in an article directly after SummerSlam is, what are the possibilities that we see? We know who Dom is, right? Dom is as you guys termed it, a mega heel. He's not a great wrestler. He's just kind of so hated by everybody.
Dom is a gold digger.
Fair enough, right? But what are the possibilities that eventually, obviously we're going to, at some point in the next month or so, get a Damian and Rhea versus Liv and Dom fight in the ring?
Yeah.
What happens after that as they milk this for the next several months, which I'm sure they're going to do? Could we potentially get blessed with watching Rhea Ripley kick Dom Mysterio's ass in a one-on-one man versus woman? Because WWE's done it before. China wrestled a ton of men in her career before her untimely demise.
Been a while.
We've seen other people fight, other women wrestlers fight other men. I absolutely think Rhea, and we saw the tease of it. That's why I was so proud when she headbutted the shit out of JD McDonough, right? I was like, yes, this is the first sign that we could see her in actual action against a man. Do y'all think that is?
Oh, you also to your point.
Prophetic?
To your point, you also saw Liv Morgan stomping on Damian Priest.
There you go.
Yeah,
I just think it's a perfect segue, right? A perfect move from here.
I don't think you'll see it like it was back then. I mean, quite literally, China held the Intercontinental Championship. I don't think they'll go that far. I think if you'll see a mixed tag, it'll be Finn Balor and Liv versus Priest and Rhea with cheerleader Dom on the outside, and you may see an interaction that way. I don't know if you'll see some legitimate one-on-one. I don't even think Dom's going to be in a mixed tag. I think right now, as much as it sounds cool to have Dom and Rhea face each other, Finn Balor and Damian. If it's going to be Damian Priest and Rhea, it has to be Finn Balor because when Dom's in the ring with Damian Priest, it means nothing. So unless this is just kind of a transitional mixed tag, which I would not waste that with Dom, you cannot have Rhea and Finn against Dom. I'm sorry, Dom and Liv against Rhea and Damian. Whew, a lot of Damians and Doms.
Right, a whole bunch of
yeah. If you're going to do that with Rhea Ripley involved, you have to put Finn Balor, in my opinion.
That's fair, but what about a one-on-one? That's like, what if it's just a one-on-one?
It doesn't happen nowadays.
It's not
you have to see the mixed gender tag match. That's the only way to really get it. But I think in that you will get Rhea fighting Dom to a certain extent. Yeah. Like they might be in the ring at the same time, and she will give him the Oblivion or whatever. Like
that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
that's not hers. What's hers?
No, Oblivion is Liv's. Hers is
Riptide.
Riptide. Yeah,
Riptide.
You'll see that eventually, but it will have to be during a mixed tag match because they don't do
and only
men versus women.
Only the women.
Is it like a
boxing, guys?
A political kind of culture thing that we're just not doing.
It's not the era
a man
anymore,
striking a woman anymore. Is that really where we're at?
I think that if we're keeping it
even in wrestling,
that's basically what it is.
That's what it is.
Especially in wrestling,
women can do it.
The women can put hands on the men cannot put hands on the women. That's why you do not see the men retaliating. If that were the case, you would have seen Chad Gable put hands on Maxine long ago. He keeps giving the suspense that he would, and even to the point where she finally put hands on him and she slapped him in the face and then basically was like, come on, let's do it. But then right when he was approaching her came the Wyatt Sicks and the lights went out. So that was a different time. It's not going to happen now. It's never going to happen again. So I do believe it can be a mixed tag match, but it is going to be woman on woman, man on man violence, and then you will see the women able to put some hands on the men to an extent, but the men aren't going to retaliate.
Fam,
okay.
The Dudley boys quite literally put Mae Young to a table.
Put Mae Young to a table.
It's not happening anymore.
They
put an 80-year-old woman to a table.
That was peak. That was peak.
That's it.
That was peak.
That's exactly. That's the peak
you're
going to get.
Peak. Yes, it's not getting any higher than that.
I love it when y'all give me these little treasure hunts that I need to go on because we have these
conversations. Oh, you haven't seen that.
Please go
from back in the day. Like
I've
heard of the Dudley Boys. I've never watched them wrestle, so now I'm going to go straight to YouTube and pull that up and see some of their exploits. Right? You mentioned something in this conversation, Pat. You just brought it up, and I wanted to know where things evolved because last night we got to see for the first time ever. We got to see the Wyatt Sicks in-ring action 3-man tag taking on Chad Gable and the Creed brothers. We got to see Eric Rowan, Dexter Loomis, and Joe Gacy in actual action. And obviously they came out with a victory. They obviously weren't going to lose their first match. And they did what was necessary. The cinema aspect of every single thing that they did in that presentation was chef's kiss, top notch, right? Good. They executed that story. They've just done a masterful job this entire 6-week stretch in the rollout of the Wyatt Sicks, right? It's been phenomenal. But what happens next? What's next for the Wyatt Sicks after they've now disposed of Chad Gable and his cronies?
That's deep how they buried the Creed brothers, man.
But yeah, it is. But they're not. This isn't over between the Wyatt Sicks and American Made.
American Made, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely could have come better than that. Pause. But story and dialogue for another time. American Made is their name now, so no Alpha Academy. Okay, fine. But I think this is just the beginning. I think when you look at Chad Gable, look at him over the past 12 months, and look at the fact that he's hard to put down. As Sami Zayn, he's just hard to put down. He's going to keep coming back, and he comes back stronger and stronger. And that's not to say that he's going to win this feud because he's not going to win this feud with the Wyatt Sicks. Absolutely not. But he'll get his licks in. He will absolutely get his licks in. And that's, I believe, what's going to keep this going. And I look forward to, I don't know if it'll be as early as Bash in Berlin, but Wyatt Sicks is going to be on a PLE match card here soon. And I just wonder if that's going to be that, or in a perfect world, I would put them on one of the main events of Bad Blood because that just makes too much sense. As far as that PLE coming back in October, the title, the format of it, maybe a Hell in the Cell between the Wyatt Sicks and American Made. I'm here for that. Let's go.
I think we need to see Uncle Howdy in the ring. That's the next jump. That's what I want to see for the next PLE. Granted, we saw the Wyatt Sicks. They were doing great. Uncle Howdy versus Chad Gable at maybe not Berlin, but like we were saying, maybe the PLE after that. If that is bad blood, then yes, absolutely.
I have a question I want to pose to the panel real quick. I have a question. So with the Wyatt Sicks, obviously you have Rambling Rabbit, Husky the pig boy, you got Mercy the villain, you got Abigail the witch, and you got Uncle Howdy. When you look at particularly American Made, number one, they're outnumbered. Number two, they lack something that the Wyatt Sicks has, which is a woman, right? If you had to guess, who do you think? Because I just feel in my gut that Chad Gable is going to go and recruit a woman to try to combat Nikki Cross, which is Abigail the witch, because otherwise Nikki Cross is just going to keep getting off on him, basically. So if you had to guess, who do you think comes in? And please, please, please don't say Alexa Bliss, because that she is reserved for the Wyatt Sicks.
Who's the woman that was with the Creed brothers?
Oh, we were talking about her last night, Josh.
I feel
she
like
was on the
was...
show last night. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but Josh said she looked like who did you say she looked like, Josh?
She looked like
a previous WWE superstar. I can't remember, but yeah, she definitely has the.
She's stocky, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that
Ivy Nile.
Yeah, her.
That's who.
Who
that's a good call still. I just feel like they're going to add a woman to try to.
Oh yeah, she looks like Beth Phoenix.
That's who you said, Beth Phoenix. Which is Edge's wife. For those that don't know, Katie, I don't know if you knew that, but that's Edge's wife.
Yeah, put her in there, and Katie Cross will squash her. I'm down.
Here's my thing with the Wyatt Sicks, and I think this is cool. You know, with the Uncle Howdy situation and Bray Wyatt, like, this is amazing. But because of what they are, I feel like they should be utilized as an attraction. I don't know where they fit in from a true faction in the sense of bloodline and tag titles and things like that. So I feel like it's going to be trickier than we think. The initial rollout's easy. The follow-up is going to be tough because maybe I'm a little salty. I feel like you had such a money kind of mid-card rivalry on your hands with American Made and Alpha Academy. Now maybe they can go back to it, but they did not strike when the iron was hot because they needed to introduce the Wyatt Sicks, and now you have this strange grappling wrestling group against these immortal, from the dead beings, and to me it's just like water and oil. It doesn't mix, but we're overlooking it. We're overlooking the red flag because of the Wyatt Sicks. So if they keep the Wyatt Sicks as an attraction, I'm down for it. I just find because look, bro, look who is in the Wyatt Sicks. They aren't like that outside of being the Wyatt Sicks grouping. So how do you interact with the bloodline? I can't see them really beating the blood. Like, where we go here? New Day.
Yeah,
so
I was about to say
Judgment Day.
it's right there.
Liv Morgan's Judgment Day. That's who they match up
that's
perfectly.
That's an easy 5 versus 5 right there, right?
Yeah, and woman and
for numbers. Yeah, Judgment Day would be the number. They have the numbers, but even the Judgment Day, when you peel back the aura, those dudes can go, right? Those dudes can really go. So you can't put it. You can put it past Chad Gable being aloof.
When you say they can go, what do you mean?
Finn Balor can go in that ring.
Absolutely. But listen, Chad Gacy, have you seen it? He can go. Nikki Cross, she can go. Right? Bo Dallas, we need to see more of Bo Dallas, but from all accounts, he can go. I just think that if you line them up, I think they're right there. Of course, the Judgment Day has their own problems right now with the territory.
Right. This is like a 2025.
Right. But assuming that faction stays as is and together, it lines right up because also you mentioned the word steel aura, right? You have these immortal beings from the aura. And then Judgment Day is like from the dark side as well. That was their whole demeanor. The occult type thing versus the occult type thing. I mean, like,
so let me ask you this: do they drag out this American Made? Like, how long does it go? Because
first they need to change the name. That's
I feel like I'm hearing in the background, built for tough. Like, that's what I feel like I'm hearing with American.
I feel like it's something that would have worked for Kurt Angle during peak Kurt Angle, but we're not there anymore. Like this is, or maybe it would have worked in the PG era, which kind of was also peak Kurt Angle with the drinking the milk, right? But that if we're off of the PG-13 era now, then you gotta
let Gable loose a little bit. Gable right now is a goofy aloof heel, But I feel like if they just let Gable be a pissed off Gable, he could be even better on the mic.
Which is what he was when he was slapping Otis and Tozawa around. That Gable, that was masterful heel Gable. This one is kind of getting back to the goofiness, like you said. So I don't know how long this feud lasts, but this might just be a setup feud, or to get the Wyatt Sicks established as a true in-ring talent before they level them up to someone like the Judgment Day or one of the other 100 factions that exists.
In closing, I'll say this: what Josh said, if Uncle Howdy does get in that ring and he proves to be kind of what the Fiend was, then that changes things, I think, a little bit, because the Fiend, we know, was Bray Wyatt, but the dude was an animal. I mean, Bray was a beast in the ring. Bray was like that, and it's just, unless Uncle Howdy gets in there and goes hard, it's an attraction to me. And
I think Bo's gonna go crazy, bro. Yeah. I think he's gonna go crazy, and I say that because if you looked at when a few weeks ago before SummerSlam, when he basically baited Chad Gable into setting him up, Chad thought he was setting him up, but in the whole time, you had Bo sitting there cackling.
Boy, looking like his brother.
And it kept looking just like Bray, and it kept feeling like when he was in the corner, it felt like he was about to crab walk at any time. I think Bo's gonna go crazy in that ring, like absolutely. He's got the pedigree, and a legend taught him. So
yeah,
it'd be interesting interesting to see. I want to cover one more thing before we cut out of here. Just very quick reaction. One of the things that we saw actually to start Monday Night Raw's episode was the matchup of Randy Orton versus Gunther, which is set for Bash of Berlin. Obviously, we see how this is set up. I did some research on Randy Orton. It's been a while since he held the title, and he's just like continuously getting these title shots, and he's basically like filler, which is insane to talk about the Viper, somebody with his kind of pedigree. Like he's been relegated to be that guy in these matches, and I think obviously that's what we're going to see. They haven't worked Gunther's reputation to have him turn around and lose in his first title defense. Like I just don't see that's happening. But what is that with Randy Orton that he is now that guy? Like, does that make sense to y'all? Are you happy with it? Do you think there's something else coming?
For me, Randy Orton is just a consistently great wrestler on the mic and in the ring. Just a legend, absolute professional. He's one of the best to ever do it. Hall of Famer. I think that consistency is great for helping put the young talent over. I think that's exactly why they're doing it. That's exactly why kind of AJ Styles has also been chasing belts for a little while now. It's like you put your young, hot, champion in the ring with someone like Randy Orton, with someone like AJ Styles. That only makes them look better. And that's just being a pro, honestly. In my opinion, that's just being an old school pro professional wrestler.
Well, breaking, first of all, Josh Rodriguez, the Josh thinks Gunther is hot. So that's on the record.
Yeah, but he kind of has like a devilish look about him.
But seriously, though, Josh hit it right on the head. Randy has been sensational at helping some of the younger talent get over. And because his career and his stature is so bulletproof, you will never, ever look at Randy Orton as a jobber. Not ever. It doesn't matter. He could not win another match for the next year, and he's still Randy freaking Orton. He's still the legend. He's still the apex predator, the Viper. So I do think it's unfortunate. I love the match. I'm going to be all eyes on the match, completely pulled in. But this is also the problem I had with giving Gunther the belt against Damian Priest at SummerSlam, because if you go back, for those that have subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed, hit the button and then go back and watch our previous episodes. I said the reason I wanted Damian Priest to win this particular match at SummerSlam was because it would set up a rematch wherein Gunther maybe takes it at Bash in Berlin, maybe at Bad Blood, whatever the case may be. But I needed Gunther to stay away from the heavyweight championship for another 4 to 6 weeks, give or take, because I knew that once he got this belt, he's not losing it again he's not losing it for a long time. Might not lose it until WrestleMania, if we're keeping it a buck, because it's Gunther, right? So with that in mind, now that he has the belt, knowing that he's not going to lose it for a long time, I think we should just set ourselves up for what should be a very entertaining match between the two, and just know that Orton is not taking this belt off of him, which sucks. I'm not even going to say kind of sucks. It sucks because I've been pounding the drum for months as far as Randy Orton should have had more gold by now. They keep diverting him and detouring him with these storylines, and he's one of Cody's henchmen, but then it's RKO. But it's when he first came back, he looked right at Roman Reigns, called him out when he was the tribal chief of that version of the bloodline. And he said, I'm coming for you. You knocked me out of the ring for 8 to 10 months. My career was almost over. I want smoke with you. And then after that, that as a solo act completely vaporized. And we know why.
Still.
We know why, but still.
Still, final word.
I hope that this is a long play because I would love to see him get one more run, even if it's brief. I don't care if it's just for a week or the next night on Raw. I don't care. The reason why I hope this is a long play, and this was something I forgot about that Randy Orton brought up on Monday Night Raw. He wasn't legitimately pinned by Gunther, right? So he kind of has that same, hey, you injured me, let me get back at you. But this time it's, hey, you beat me, but you really didn't. And now I'm giving that shot to do it over. So what I hope happens is some type of cheating, as a heel does. Maybe Ludwig, helps Gunther win. And now he's 0 for 2. And Orton is just irate. He's pissed. He kind of goes into a little bit of a dark, I hear voices in my head Orton, because he's not I hear voices Orton right now. And what that does is send him down this line over the next number of months. I don't care if it's for the next 5-6 months. Really, he just starts just crushing people. And then we get to around Rumble, right? I know a lot of people don't want to hear about Randy Orton winning the Rumble, but could you imagine if they build this up to the point where Orton says, 0 for 3, I'll be damned. I want Gunther.
Right.
Can that match at WrestleMania and then Orton wins at WrestleMania? So I'm hoping this is some real long storytelling because Orton's way too good to let this be a one-off. But Josh is right. He's a professional and he's going to put Gunther over. That's just what's going to happen.
Hey, Will, say more things like that, bro.
I'm just
I appreciate that.
Say more things.
Holla at me.
Listen, 84 championship matches in the last decade for Randy Orton. 84 singles
14 titles.
Championship matches. It is an amazing run.
Right?
It's an amazing 2-decade career. All right, we're going to wrap it up for now. Make sure that you have smashed that subscribe button, hit that notification so you do not miss any of our episodes. We're going to try to get back at you later this week with something else. We got something in the lab, so we're going to try to do that for y'all. Stay tuned to see that. Regardless of when the next episode hits, it will be your 4 horsemen repping as always, as we always do. And new Wrestling Pod. We're out of here.
Salute.
And new